My wife posted photos with her work husband while I was home with our kids. Instead of arguing, I left divorce papers on the table and made one phone call. By the end of the week, she'd lost her job, her reputation, and her family. But that was nothing compared to what her boyfriend lost. My name is Glenn Callahan. I'm 42 years old, and I've been running my own dental practice in suburban Phoenix for 8 years. I thought I had it all figured out. Beautiful wife Shelby, who worked as an administrator at Valley Medical Center, 2 great kids, Samuel 17 and getting ready for his senior year, and Chloe just turned 14 last month. We lived in a nice house with a pool, took family vacations to Colorado every summer, and I genuinely believed we were living the American dream. That Tuesday morning started like any other. I was sitting at the kitchen counter with my coffee, scrolling through social media before heading to the office. Samuel was already at school for early baseball practice, and Chloe was upstairs getting ready. Shelby had left the night before for some medical conference in Denver, something about new patient management systems. Nothing unusual there. Then I saw it. The post hit my timeline like a freight train. There was my wife, arms wrapped around some guy in a suit, both of them grinning like teenagers at prom. The caption made my stomach drop. My real work partner. Couldn't handle these conferences without you. #workhusband, #teamwork. I stared at that screen for what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds. The guy looked comfortable. Too comfortable. His hand was on her waist, and she was leaning into him like they'd done this 1,000 times before. 43 likes already, and it had only been posted 20 minutes ago. My hand stayed steady as I set down my coffee mug. I walked to my home office, opened the filing cabinet, and pulled out a folder I'd hoped I'd never need. Inside were divorce papers I'd drawn up 6 months ago during one of our rough patches. Call insurance, call preparation. I'd never intended to use them. Until now. I placed the papers on the dining room table, right where Shelby always dropped her keys when she came home. Then I opened my laptop and did something I'd never done before. I commented on my wife's post, right there for everyone to see. Divorce papers are on the table. No anger, no accusations, just facts. Then I grabbed my hedge trimmers and went outside to work on the landscaping. The neighbors probably thought I was having the most peaceful morning of my life. They had no idea I just lit the fuse on a bomb that would blow up everything Shelby thought she knew about consequences. The first call came at 2:47 p.m. I was cleaning instruments in my office when my phone lit up with Shelby's contact photo. I let it ring. The second call came 10 minutes later. Then a third. By the time I locked up the practice that evening, I had 14 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic text messages. Glenn, what the hell was that comment about? Call me back now. You're being ridiculous. It was just a work post. I'm getting weird looks from people at the conference. I drove home in complete silence, not even turning on the radio. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw Samuel shooting hoops in the garage. He jogged over as I got out of the truck. Dad, Mom's been calling the house phone every 20 minutes, Samuel said, bouncing the basketball. She sounds pretty freaked out. What's going on? I looked at my son, 6'2", broad shoulders, the kind of kid who could handle the truth. Your mother made some poor choices, son. We'll talk about it when your sister gets home from soccer practice. Samuel's expression grew serious. Is this about that post she made? The one with that guy from her work? My eyebrows shot up. You saw it. Everyone at school saw it, Dad. Jake Anderson showed it to the whole baseball team during lunch. They were all laughing about how weird it was. Samuel's voice dropped. I wanted to punch him, but I didn't know what to say. The anger I'd been keeping in check started to simmer. My 17-year-old son had been humiliated at school because of his mother's public display. That crossed a line I didn't even know existed. When Chloe got home, I sat both kids down in the living room. The divorce papers were still on the dining table, impossible to miss. Kids, I said, your mother and I are going to be separating. This isn't about you two, and it's not something you caused. Chloe's eyes immediately filled with tears. But why, Daddy? What happened? Samuel put his arm around his sister. His voice was steady, mature beyond his years. It's because of that post, isn't it? The one with her work boyfriend. Samuel, I said carefully, what exactly did you see? Everything, Dad. Her Instagram, her Facebook, even her LinkedIn. She's been posting pictures with that same guy for months. Always at conferences, always with captions about teamwork and partnerships. Samuel's jaw tightened. The guys at school have been making jokes about it for weeks. I just didn't want to tell you. The room went quiet except for Chloe sniffling. Then my phone rang again. Shelby's name flashed on the screen. This time I answered. Glenn, thank God. Shelby's voice was high panicked. I don't understand why you're doing this. It was just a fun post with Ryan. Everyone has work friendships. Ryan, I repeated, making sure the kids could hear. That's his name. Yes, Ryan Nichols. He's the new operations manager. Glenn, you're scaring me. People are asking questions, and I don't know what to tell them. Tell them the truth, Shelby. Tell them you forgot you had a real husband while you were playing house with Ryan. The line went dead. I looked at Samuel and Chloe, both staring at me with a mixture of shock and something that looked like respect. Dad, Samuel said quietly, what happens now? I stood up and walked to the window, watching the sunset paint the desert orange. Now we find out what her mother values more, her family or her reputation. The next morning, I made a call that would change everything. Dr. Williams returned my call at 8:15 a.m., just as I was finishing my first patient consultation. Glenn, his voice was serious. I reviewed those social media posts you sent. This is concerning on multiple levels. I thought you should know before it reflects poorly on Valley Medical, I said, stepping into my private office. I've already spoken with our compliance department. Shelby's behavior at conferences, especially the public nature of these posts, violates our professional conduct policies. We represent a medical institution, not a social club. I sat down at my desk. What happens now? She'll be called in for a formal review when she returns. Glenn, I have to ask, how long has this been going on? Based on the post history? At least 6 months. Maybe longer. Dr. Williams sighed. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Shelby's always been good at her job, but this kind of judgment lapse. He paused. We'll handle it appropriately. That afternoon, Samuel came home from school with news that made my blood boil. Dad, Samuel said, dropping his backpack by the door. Coach Peterson pulled me aside after practice. He said some parents have been talking about Mom's social media posts. Apparently, Jake Anderson's mom saw them and started spreading gossip at the parent meeting last night. I felt my jaw tighten. What kind of gossip? That Mom's having an affair with someone from work. Coach said he wanted to check if our family was okay, because it's affecting team morale. Samuel's voice was steady, but I could see the embarrassment in his eyes. Dad, this is getting out of hand. Your mother created this mess, son, but I'm going to end it. I called Shelby's mother, Patricia, that evening. She'd been unusually quiet since the divorce papers appeared. Patricia, I said, I need you to understand what's happening here. Shelby's behavior isn't just affecting our marriage. It's affecting the kids. Glenn, dear, I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. I'm sending you screenshots of her posts. Look at them with your own eyes. Then tell me it's a misunderstanding. 20 minutes later, Patricia called back. Her voice was different, disappointed, ashamed. Glenn, I had no idea. This is not how we raised her. I know that. But right now, she's telling people I'm being controlling and paranoid. The kids need to hear from someone she respects that this behavior is unacceptable. What do you want me to do? Tell her the truth. Tell her she's destroying her family for a man who probably doesn't even respect her enough to keep their relationship private. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. I'll call her tonight. Thank you. The kids need to know that someone in this family still has standards. Wednesday morning, I dropped the kids at school and drove straight to Phoenix Legal Associates. My lawyer, Janet Pierce, had been handling my business contract for years. She took one look at the divorce papers and the printed screenshots of Shelby's posts and whistled low. Glenn, this is pretty damning evidence of inappropriate workplace relationships, Janet said, spreading the photos across her desk. Especially for someone in healthcare administration. Medical centers have strict codes of conduct. I leaned forward. That's exactly what I was thinking. Janet, I need you to do 2 things. First, file these papers immediately. Second, I want to transfer ownership of our mountain cabin to my name only. It was purchased with inheritance money from my mother. The cabin in Flagstaff? That's easily done. The deed shows you as the primary owner anyway. Janet made notes on her legal pad. What about custody arrangements? I want full custody. The kids have been humiliated at school because of her behavior. Samuel's been getting teased by his teammates, and Chloe's confused about what a marriage is supposed to look like. Janet nodded. With evidence of infidelity and public embarrassment of the children, that's very achievable. What about her job? I smiled grimly. Valley Medical Center has a zero-tolerance policy for personal conduct that reflects poorly on the institution. I happen to know this because I provide dental services for their employee insurance plan. You're going to report her? I'm going to let her employer know that one of their administrators is posting inappropriate content while representing their facility at conferences. They can draw their own conclusions. That afternoon, I composed a professional email to Valley Medical's Human Resources Director. I attached screenshots of Shelby's posts, highlighting the dates and conference locations. The subject line read, "Employee Conduct Concern, Professional Representation at Industry Events." Then I called Dr. Williams again. "Glenn," he said, "I've already briefed our board about the situation. They're not happy. Shelby's public behavior reflects poorly on our entire institution. What's the next step?" "She'll be suspended pending a full investigation when she returns Thursday. Her access to patient information and conference attendance will be immediately revoked." By 5 p.m., I'd moved $75,000 from our joint savings account into a separate trust fund I'd established months ago. By 6 p.m., I'd changed the locks on the mountain cabin. By 7 p.m., I'd canceled Shelby's corporate credit card. When the kids got home, Samuel found me in the garage, organizing tools. "Dad, Mom's been calling everyone. Grandma, Aunt Lisa, even my baseball coach. She's telling people you've had some kind of breakdown." I continued sorting screwdrivers. "What do you think, son? Do I seem like I'm having a breakdown?" Samuel studied my face. "No, sir. You seem like you're finally done taking garbage from people." I handed him a wrench. "Help me with this workbench. Tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day." Thursday evening, Shelby's car pulled into the driveway. I was sitting on the front porch with a glass of iced tea, watching the sunset. The kids were inside doing homework, but I could see them peeking through the living room window. Shelby got out of her rental car slowly, like she was walking to her own execution. Her face was puffy, eyes red. She'd obviously been crying during the flight home. She walked up the steps, suitcase dragging behind her. "Glenn," she said quietly, "we need to talk." "No," I replied, not getting up from my chair. "You need to listen." She sat down in the chair across from me, the same spot where we used to discuss family vacation plans and the kids' school activities. Now it felt like a courtroom. "I got a call from HR today," Shelby said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're suspending me pending an investigation into my professional conduct." "Are they?" I took a sip of tea. "What did you tell them?" "I told them it was a misunderstanding, that someone was trying to sabotage my career." Her voice grew stronger, more defensive. "Glenn, I know you reported me. How could you do that to the mother of your children?" I set down my glass and looked her straight in the eye. "The same way you could humiliate the father of your children on social media for 6 months. It wasn't humiliation. It was friendship." Samuel opened the front door and stepped outside. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Shelby's expression softened. "Of course, sweetheart. Why did you call that man your work husband when you already have a real husband sitting right here?" Shelby's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Samuel, you wouldn't understand. Adult relationships are complicated." "No, Mom," Samuel said, his voice firm, "they're not. You either respect your family or you don't. And posting pictures with another man while calling him your husband isn't respect." Tears started flowing down Shelby's cheeks. "I never meant for it to hurt anyone." "But it hurt people," I said. "It hurt me. It hurt Samuel. It hurt Chloe. And tomorrow, when you try to go back to work, you're going to discover that it hurt your career too." "Glenn, please. We can fix this. I'll delete everything. I'll explain to everyone that it was just poor judgment." I stood up and walked to the door. "Shelby, some things can't be fixed. Some things can only be ended cleanly." "What does that mean?" "It means you have a choice to make. Sign those papers and we'll handle this divorce with dignity, or fight me and watch everything you've worked for disappear piece by piece." She followed me inside, desperation in her voice. "Glenn, I choose you. I choose our family." I turned to face her in the hallway. "You already made your choice, Shelby. You made it 17 times on social media over 6 months. Now you get to live with it." Friday morning at 9:30 a.m., my phone rang. It was Dr. Williams. "Glenn," he said, "Shelby just left my office. The investigation is complete, and it's not good." I was in my dental office, between patients. "What did you find?" "Beyond the social media posts, we discovered she's been booking personal expenses to conference accounts. Upgraded rooms, spa treatments, dinners for two that weren't on any approved business itinerary. Dr. Williams sounded tired. She also admitted to what she called an emotional relationship with Ryan Nichols. An emotional relationship, I repeated. Is that what we're calling affairs now? Glenn, I have to ask, did you know about any financial irregularities? I suspected something was off when our credit card bill started showing charges I didn't recognize, but I trusted my wife to handle her own professional expenses. Well, those expenses weren't professional. We're terminating her employment effective immediately. She'll receive 2-week severance, but her access to patient information and medical conferences is permanently revoked. After I hung up, I called Samuel's school. His guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson, had left a message about the family situation affecting his academic performance. Mrs. Patterson, this is Glenn Callahan. I'm returning your call about Samuel. Mr. Callahan, thank you for calling back. Samuel's been distracted in class this week. Other students have been whispering about some family issues, and I wanted to check if there's support he needs. The family issues are being resolved. My wife and I are divorcing due to her inappropriate conduct, but Samuel has my full support. I see. Well, if Samuel needs counseling services or academic accommodations during this transition. Actually, Mrs. Patterson, I think you'll find Samuel's performance will improve once the instability at home is eliminated. That afternoon, Samuel came home with news that made me proud of how I'd handled everything. Dad, Samuel said, something happened at school today. Jake Anderson tried to make another joke about Mom. I shut him down hard. What did you say? I told him that real men don't mock other people's family problems. I said Dad was handling the situation like a gentleman, and anyone who wanted to gossip about it could deal with me personally. I felt a surge of pride. How did that go over? Coach Peterson heard the whole thing. He pulled me aside afterward and said he was proud of how I was representing the family during a difficult time. Samuel sat down at the kitchen table. Dad, I know this is hard, but you're doing the right thing. Son, sometimes being a man means making difficult decisions that protect the people you love, even when those decisions hurt. Is Mom going to be okay? I considered the question carefully. Your mother's going to learn that choices have consequences. Whether she'll be okay depends on whether she can accept responsibility for what she's done. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. Mr. Callahan, this is Ryan Nichols. We need to discuss Shelby's situation. I showed the message to Samuel. Looks like your mother's work husband wants to chat. What are you going to tell him? I'm going to tell him that he picked the wrong family to mess with. Saturday morning, I was having breakfast with the kids when Shelby came downstairs looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was messy, her eyes bloodshot, and she was clutching her phone like a lifeline. Glenn, she said, her voice shaky, I need to talk to you about what's happening at work. I didn't look up from my eggs. What about it? They're not just suspending me. They're conducting a full audit of every conference I've attended for the past year. They want receipts, itineraries, expense reports, everything. Her voice was rising, becoming more frantic. They're treating me like a criminal. Samuel glanced at me, then at his mother. Mom, maybe you should sit down. I can't sit down. Shelby snapped. Do you know what this means? If they find anything irregular, I could lose my nursing license. 20 years of my career gone. Did they find anything irregular? I asked calmly. Shelby's silence was answer enough. Chloe looked up from her cereal. Mom, why are you yelling at Dad? He didn't make you post those pictures. Chloe, you don't understand how complicated this is. I understand that you're embarrassing our family, Chloe said matter-of-factly. And now you're mad because people noticed. Shelby's face flushed red. I am your mother, young lady. You don't get to talk to me like that. Actually, I said, setting down my fork, she does. Because unlike you, Chloe understands the difference between right and wrong. How dare you turn my own children against me? I stood up slowly, my 6-foot frame casting a shadow across the table. Shelby, I didn't turn anyone against you. You did that yourself when you decided to humiliate this family publicly. It was one post. It was 17 posts, Samuel corrected quietly. I counted. Shelby spun toward him. You've been tracking my social media? Mom, everyone's been tracking your social media. The whole school knows about your work boyfriend. Dad's just the only one with enough backbone to do something about it. Shelby started crying again, but this time it felt manipulative, performative. I never meant for any of this to happen. I just got carried away with the attention. The attention, I repeated. From Ryan Nichols. Yes, from Ryan. He made me feel appreciated, valued, like I mattered. And I didn't. Shelby looked at me, through her tears. Glenn, when was the last time you looked at me the way he does? When was the last time you told me I was beautiful or smart or important? I walked around the table until I was standing directly in front of her. When was the last time you gave me a reason to? When was the last time you came home and talked about our family instead of your work drama? When was the last time you posted a picture of your actual husband instead of your pretend one? Shelby had no answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to sign those divorce papers. You're going to move out quietly. And you're going to explain to the kids why you chose a man you barely know over the family you've had for 17 years. Glenn, please. The conversation's over, Shelby. You made your choice public. Now live with it. Tuesday afternoon, I found myself sitting in Dr. Sarah Chen's waiting room with Samuel and Chloe. Shelby had insisted on family therapy before signing the divorce papers, claiming I was emotionally manipulating the children against her. Dad, Chloe whispered, do we have to do this? Sometimes, sweetheart, you have to let other people hear the truth from a neutral source. When we were called in, Dr. Chen was professional but warm. She arranged us in a circle, me and the kids on one side, Shelby sitting alone across from us. Shelby has expressed concerns about how the family is processing recent marital difficulties, Dr. Chen began. She feels the children are being influenced against her. I remained silent, letting Shelby speak first. Dr. Chen, Shelby said, Glenn has turned our children against me over what was essentially a work friendship. He's made them believe I was having an affair when nothing physical ever happened. Dr. Chen looked at Samuel and Chloe. How do you two feel about what's been happening at home? Samuel spoke first. Dr. Chen, my mom posted pictures with another man for months, calling him her work husband. Kids at school have been making jokes about it. I've been defending her until I saw the evidence for myself. What evidence concerns you most, Samuel? The fact that she spent our family money buying gifts for this guy, and that she never posted pictures like that with Dad. Dr. Chen turned to Chloe. What about you, Chloe? I'm confused about why Mom thinks calling another man her husband is okay when she's already married to Dad. Chloe, your mother says it was just a workplace term. Dr. Chen, Chloe interrupted. If I posted pictures calling some boy my boyfriend while I was dating someone else, would that be okay because it was just a term? Dr. Chen glanced at me, then back at Shelby. Shelby, how do you respond to your children's concerns? They're too young to understand adult relationships and workplace dynamics. I'm 17, Samuel said firmly. I understand enough to know that married people shouldn't act single on social media. Dr. Chen made notes, then looked directly at Shelby. Shelby, regardless of the nature of your relationship with this colleague, how do you think your public posts affected your family? I never intended to hurt anyone. That's not what I asked. I asked how you think they were affected. Shelby was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she said, I guess I didn't think about how it would look to other people. Or to your husband and children, Dr. Chen added gently. Or to them, Shelby admitted. I finally spoke. Dr. Chen, my concern isn't whether Shelby intended to hurt us. My concern is that she doesn't seem to understand why what she did was inappropriate, even now. Glenn's right, Samuel said. Mom, you're still trying to justify it instead of just saying you were wrong. Dr. Chen looked at all of us. It sounds like there's been a significant breakdown in trust and communication. Shelby, do you acknowledge that your actions, regardless of intent, cause harm to your family? Shelby nodded slowly, tears flowing again. Yes, I acknowledge that. And Glenn, are you willing to consider reconciliation if Shelby takes full responsibility and makes changes? I looked at my wife of 18 years, sitting there broken and defeated, and felt nothing but emptiness where love used to be. Dr. Chen, some things can't be fixed. They can only be ended with dignity. 6 weeks later, I sat in Janet Pierce's conference room, watching Shelby sign the final divorce papers. Her hands shook slightly as she wrote her name, and her lawyer kept shooting nervous glances at the settlement terms. Shelby, Janet said professionally, you understand that by signing this agreement, you're waiving all claims to the Flagstaff cabin, the dental practice assets, and the children's college funds? I understand, Shelby replied quietly. Her mother Patricia sat beside her, looking ashamed and disappointed. She'd flown in from Nebraska specifically to convince Shelby to sign without fighting. "Mom," Shelby had said the night before, "you're supposed to support me." "Sweetheart," Patricia had replied, "I am supporting you. I'm supporting you making the right choice for once." Now, watching Shelby initial each page, I felt no satisfaction, no victory, just relief that it was finally over. Samuel and Chloe were waiting in my truck outside. They'd insisted on coming, wanting to see their mother take responsibility for her actions. "Is she going to be okay financially?" Chloe had asked me earlier. "Your mother will get half the house value and her retirement accounts. She'll be fine if she finds another job and stops making poor decisions." The meeting ended quickly. Shelby's lawyer packed up his briefcase like he couldn't wait to leave. As everyone filed out, Shelby approached me. "Glenn, can I say something?" I looked at her, the woman I'd loved for 18 years, now looking small and defeated. "Make it quick. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that losing you and the kids is the biggest regret of my life." "Shelby, regret doesn't change anything. Actions do. The kids, will they still see me? That's up to them. They're old enough to decide if they want a relationship with someone who chose a stranger over their family." She nodded, tears flowing freely. "What are you going to tell people about why we divorced?" "I'm going to tell them the truth. That my wife forgot she was married and had to be reminded publicly." As I walked to my truck, Samuel rolled down the window. "Dad, how do you feel?" I started the engine and looked at my son and daughter, strong, principled kids who'd learned valuable lessons about character and consequences. "I feel like we can finally move forward without wondering when the next shoe will drop." 3 months later, I was coaching Chloe's volleyball team when I got a text from Ryan Nichols. "Mr. Callahan, I wanted you to know I got engaged to someone who is actually single. Thank you for teaching me about respect and boundaries." I showed the message to Chloe during a timeout. "Dad, do you think Mom learned anything from all this?" I watched my daughter serve an ace that won the match, strong and confident like her old man. "Honey, some people learn from consequences. Others just blame everyone else. Either way, it's not our problem anymore." 1 year later, I was sitting on the deck of my Flagstaff cabin, watching Samuel and Chloe throw a football in the yard. The divorce had been final for 8 months, and life had settled into a peaceful rhythm I'd forgotten was possible. "Dad," Chloe called out, "remember when Mom used to complain that this place didn't have good Wi-Fi?" "I remember," I replied. "Now she won't have to worry about it." Samuel jogged over to the deck. "Dad, Jake Anderson's parents are getting divorced too. His mom was the one spreading gossip about our family last year. How's Jake handling it?" "Not as well as we did. He's angry at everyone. But I told him what you taught us. Sometimes bad things happen to show you who people really are." Chloe joined us on the deck. "Dad, do you miss being married?" I considered the question carefully. I miss being married to someone who respected our family. But I don't miss walking on eggshells or wondering when the next humiliation was coming. "Do you think you'll get married again?" "Maybe someday. But only to someone who understands that marriage means putting your family first, not broadcasting your business to strangers on the internet." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Callahan, this is Dr. Williams. I wanted you to know that Shelby applied for a position at Phoenix General. They call me for a reference. I thought you should know I told them the truth about why she left Valley Medical." I showed the message to the kids. "Dad," Samuel said, "do you feel bad that she can't get another job in healthcare?" "Son, your mother created consequences for herself when she chose her reputation over her family's. Those consequences don't disappear just because she wants a fresh start." That evening, we grilled burgers and watched the sunset paint the mountains orange and purple. No drama, no anxiety, no wondering what inappropriate post might appear on social media tomorrow. "Dad," Chloe said, "thank you for not letting Mom make our family a joke." "Chloe, a man protects what matters to him. You and Samuel matter to me more than keeping peace with someone who doesn't respect our family." Samuel raised a soda, can in a mock toast. "To Dad, for showing us what integrity looks like." I clinked my beer bottle against their cans. "To family that knows the difference between right and wrong." Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on the deck alone, listening to the wind through the pine trees. My phone was silent. No frantic calls, no manipulative texts, no social media drama. Just peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or public. Sometimes it's just living well, while the people who betrayed you deal with the natural consequences of their own choices. Shelby was somewhere in Phoenix, probably scrolling through job listings and wondering how her life had gone so wrong so fast. But that wasn't my problem anymore. My problem was raising two teenagers who understood that character matters more than convenience, and that some bridges, once burned, should stay burned. I fell asleep that night to the sound of absolute silence. And it was perfect.